estate market is unpredictable. Hell, sometimes I'd even say it's volatile. But tracking trends and learning from the past is going to help us forecast all of the major shifts that we're looking for. And I mean, we're looking for them. Real estate charts are great tools for painting pictures of the current market and identifying trends and predicting where we might be headed. But if you don't understand where we've been, it's really difficult to understand how we're going to get where we're hoping to arrive to. And how do we avoid things that might be lurking down the road? So to do that, I want to talk about this exact same time of the year last year. We discussed this same topic for the 2025 year and how things were going. So let's zip back in time just a bit. We talked about some major topics last year in July. Home sales, were they normalizing? We had 4.14 million homes sold in the United States during last year. We had about 3.5 months of inventory. The median home selling price was about $407,000. We talked about home sales were slowing down in summer of last year in every single region. And I mean Midwest, West, Northeastern, and especially here in the South. The South region, by the way, for the United States, when we're talking about real estate, is from Texas all the way through Florida and all the way up into Virginia. So that's a pretty good band of what we consider the real estate South. Although the South had more home sales last year and currently than any other region had seen, it had still decreased the most by 7.6% reduction. We were waiting for things like pricing. Were the home prices going to go down? We were looking for things like listings. Were they going to be harder to come by? We were worried that if the housing prices weren't going to decline, what was that going to do to the national home sales averages? We were talking about things like cryptocurrency and was it going to storm the castle and finally become an investor's strategy to buying in this new year when it was coming off of long-term investment. Only 3% of people that were considered investors were even dabbling in cryptocurrency, which was even lower than the 4% of people that invested in bonds. We talked about whether it was going to be a good time to buy a house and when would that time period hit. We talked about the strike move that everybody was moving to the hot part of the United States, which was going to be the East. We were talking about our home sales themselves going to look up and how are builders going to justify the moves that they're making in construction and what was going to happen with mortgage rates. We were up in 7%, 6.9, 6.7 in the Q3 and Q4 of 2024. What was going to happen? And were we going to have enough inventory, supply over demand, to be able to meet what the expectations were? We hadn't seen interest rates low enough to make good purchasing decisions since what we considered the COVID era. And then showing us the equity. Where were the equity challenges going to be in the housing market, and how was that going to be affected moving forward? Even slowing down construction of remodeling and flips were going to slow down as well because of the costs of materials. All to say there was potentially going to be a cooling market. Inflation and housing costs were going to be a huge problem. And the only thing we had to look forward to was the people that were already in their houses had such a great interest rate that they were going to gain massive equity because of the swing of staying in their home, paying longer on it, and the price of properties improving. So why didn't buyers buy? What happened? What's going on now? As fascinating as real estate is, you can't compete with shifts that are happening if you don't understand the peaks and the valleys and the things that shake it up. And when buyers and sellers come together to complete transactions without curling up into a fetal position, scared to death that someone's going to take advantage of them, either on the winner or the loser side, You got to be able to arm yourself with information. So, with all that knowledge behind us and understand whether or not these trends were there, I'm happy to report that I feel we're going in the right way. The housing market forecast for 2026, where we're heading from the summer now till the summer then, we're off to a good start. We have what I consider turned the corner since the post pandemic swing. Rates have experienced some soft drops. Stock has gradually risen. Purchase demand has gained momentum. And even though there's still some roadblocks, particularly in affordability and neighborhood gaps in supply, not to mention everything that we still have in a hardcore challenge in the political front of the housing market, as we're going to start entering into the 2026 era, there's going to be things that you're going to need to know in advance about the housing market, but how we're going to remain one step ahead to the shift is going to help us. So I've combined those major components of data, just like we did last year, so that we can make sense as buyers, sellers, investors, and as real estate agents, how we're going to get on the right side of the track and make sure we're ready to get on the train when it starts to pass through. So, key housing market predictions. It takes a little bit more than just keeping a tab on the mortgage rate to uncover where the housing market's going to stand in the coming year. There are a good mix of economic factors, trends in inflation, housing starts, buyers' demographics, geographic migrations that have still continued to move. These are all contributing to determining what's be coming next. Nothing's guaranteed, but that the significant housing market forecast that I'm talking about are things that are requirements for the industry to continue to be successful. And regardless of the downturn that we had over the last 2 years, I think we're heading in the right direction. We have got some political and financial clout. We have got some big sticks that are shaking in the government that are forcing things into a state of change. And that's what we needed. That's what we needed from an industry. That's what we needed from a homeowner's perspective. And it's certainly what we needed to continue to have some buying power to at least keep that standard balance that we are dealing with. And when you're talking a lot of people saying we're in a buyer's market versus a seller's market, again, I need you to go old school. I need you to understand that they don't know what they're talking about if they don't understand simple checks and balances and simple supply and demand. We must have enough supply to meet the demand of the consumer, and there must be enough money available to borrow against that demand. If you understand those basic principles, it is obvious where we are. We are as balanced as we can get right now in the current market. Home prices towards 2026, I firmly believe, are going to continue to rise, even though everybody had said, oh, there's going to be another recession. Oh, look at what's going to happen. Oh, tariffs are going to crash materials. If you're interested in what my feeling are as how tariffs are affecting us now and how they're going to affect us in the future in the housing market, hit this video here. This was good. This is going to give you some information. And as an investor, this is the information that should be your source of truth and how you're going to move forward. I believe the median housing prices are going to continue to rise approximately 4% in 2026. That's a nice meet in the middle and better than what the NAR says it's going to be. They estimated 3%. I'm going 4. The lead by better inventory, stable mortgage rates,